Hello and welcome. Today we've got Jack McMahon from CMT who will be sharing insights into an exciting technology of AI and damage quoting. Let's get into it.
With 30 years experience in auto logistics and state-of-the-art locations in 5 major Australian cities, Precar Fleet Services are a premier all-in-one solutions provider for commercial vehicle fleet operators, leasing companies and original equipment manufacturers. Please visit precar.com.au and click on the link to Fleet Services.
Jack, thanks very much for joining us this evening. Great to have you on the show. Maybe to kick things off, can you chat about the biggest challenges facing dealerships, fleet managers, and the automotive industry at the moment?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and thanks for having me, John and Mark. So I guess we specialize in computer vision, and that goes across many different facets of the automotive industry. I think if we're talking about in general, the biggest probably piece that they're finding is just transparency and consistency. If it comes down to damage on a vehicle or keeping a stock or accountability of a vehicle, quoting on vehicles for different damages, it's a consistency and transparency piece. A lot of what we found is that it wasn't a challenge in previous years gone. It was just a part of the business. It was just the leakage that happens as a part of operations. Like, for example, rental cars, unclaimed damages that happen when people bring their vehicles back that get missed before it goes out again. And if they don't flag it before it goes out again, it's just an unclaimed damage. So, and that we're talking millions that go as leakages every year. So it was just previously a historical thing that was just a part of the business. And I think as AI and computer vision become quite normal within the industry, it will be the ones who adopt it and use it will be the ones who pioneer that space, and the ones who don't will get left behind just on that legacy piece. So what wasn't a challenge years gone by will be a challenge in the future for those who don't adopt. Similar to dealerships, there's a lot of changes happening in that space at the moment, as I'm sure we're all aware, and a lot of information coming at dealers and what to focus on. So I think as we progress in years to come, we'll find out who adopted it now and who didn't. For the ones who really do well, I think.
Now, I'm keen to ask a question around what is exactly CMT technology and how does it work?
Yeah, of course. So I guess the story of how it, came about, in 2015, we started our hail repair company, where we would service insurance companies and people would come and drop their cars off to get repaired after hail damage. And like dealerships do today, we would go around the car and take pictures of the car as it arrived. So we would de-risk ourselves from any false claims that may happen as the car came in dirty with covered in red and it goes out white. So we clean it as it's finished and that scratch wasn't there type of thing when they come to pick it up. So we had that problem internally. That we were capturing images of the car, but it depended if Billy got a good photo compared to Bob and he didn't get the right angle and he missed a certain scratch on the car. So, and that took time. That took 5 to 10 minutes per arrival that came in. So we had that consistency piece and we had that efficiency piece that we wanted to solve. So we started looking out to the market of what there was available to solve that problem. And it just wasn't available. And this is back almost 10 years ago now that we had this problem. So we started, it started off as just, we strapped GoPros to a structure. And as cars just came through, we captured the condition from many different angles. And it was really basic. But what that kind of taught us is that we have the ability to really just make this ourselves we had to make it ourselves, just because it wasn't available. And then that's just kind of evolved into, we've got this footage of a vehicle. What can we do with it? Let's start looking at, rather than having someone quoting that damage for the hail damage, let's use computer vision to count the dents to produce the quote, similar to rim damage or tyre depth or undercarriage inspections for oil, rust. Anything that you really wanted to identify, we've started building this library of data that we can start to identify as a vehicle drives through. So I guess simply put, we use computer vision and AI, so machine learning AI. So AI is a bit of a buzzword at the moment, but the way we look at it with machine learning, it's that you get a different vehicle that comes through each time, right? So we may not have seen a certain vehicle before, but we've seen the characteristics of that scratch or of that dent. So it's the machine being able to know that characteristic, but in a different environment, which then goes into the database of new data, and it's getting better and better accuracy on new things that are coming in. So we leverage computer vision and AI to detect data points on a vehicle, whatever those data points may be.
So Jack, can you explain a little bit more? You spoke about for rental cars being returned. What are some of the other challenges in the industry, and how does your technology help overcome that?
Yeah, I think, again, it comes back to that bigger conversation about transparency. So especially in the insurance space, where it's always been the way that it's the repairer doing the quotes of the vehicle. It's not a third party. There are third party assessors, but there is a cost to that. But it's just creating that consistency and transparency of quotations, because the data is the data, the dent is the dent, the damage is the damage. So, which in our current world where we're looking for desktop assessments and we're looking to value cars on the other side of the country, but we're just going by the word that someone's telling us or the picture someone's taking. It's that transparency piece, which I think is the wider problem that we're looking to solve. And we're getting a lot of curiosity from dealerships at the moment, because there are a lot of things changing in their world. We've had, I guess, a once in a generational experience with COVID. So a lot of, I guess, shortages of stock and et cetera, and a really good demand. And then we've got EVs coming online. So there's a lot of which changes the whole, I guess, back end story when we start thinking about servicing of those vehicles. So we're getting a lot of curiosity from that market in the way of how can we start diversifying our service offering, because it used to be you'd go to your mechanic and they would do everything. And then it started getting fragmented. So then you'd go to your tire shop for your tires and your panel shop for your panel and your paint for something else and your windscreen. But now that the back end revenues are shrinking, it's probably going to come back to how it was, and they need a way to be able to quote all these different fragmented industries that are now different industries. So the only way, unless it just wouldn't be viable to have all these different people quoting one vehicle as it comes in for a service. So I see their curiosity coming from a point of how can we start leveraging this computer vision technology to start offering these different diverse services that we just physically can't do in person.
So in terms of a vehicle comes in, so it's got some hail dents and it's got, say, it had a dent in the bumper, sort of it's hit something on the front bumper. Your technology can then assess that and then work out a quote. Does it actually work the quote out? So, okay, with that amount of damage, this is what it's going to cost to repair. Is that how it works?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So we've partnered with repairers in the space as well. So we've integrated repairers and we've worked with them on pricing of certain things. So, for example, dents, they would fall into a certain category as to where that dent is, how big it is. If it's dented beyond repair, then you start integrating with pricing, parts pricing. So then you can start comparing: is that part worth replacing? Is it worth painting, or is it worth doing PDR? And that's the piece that's quite unique, and probably where CMT is a bit different, is that it's not just about identifying the damage, it's about quoting it, and then also integrating to the next step of repairers to actually facilitate the repairs. So there's a lot of workflow management that goes in behind our software to bring that full piece together, because it's nice to know that you have damage on your car, but then you've then got to go and find that trade to complete it. So that's where we really have our unique selling point, is that we facilitate that whole turnkey solution where it's just an autonomous drive through license plate recognition that marries up to that service appointment with a quote going out to the customer as an SMS. So leveraging conversational AI through ChatGTP to have that conversation and engaging with that customer. And if approved, having that repair job be integrated to that repairer who we've partnered with, and then facilitate the repairs either as a sublet or if they have an internal resource.
And are you limited to particular brands? Can you cover virtually any type of brand at the moment?
Yeah, I mean, any type of brand. From a technology point of view, it's quite universal. And then I guess being quite lucky with our experience in the industry insurance space, we've seen heaps and heaps of cars come through, and we've repaired many different brands all over the world. So no, not certainly stuck to a certain brand.
So Jack, I'm just want to start from go to woe here. So correct me if I'm wrong. So the technology is, a car is presented, could be to a dealership, could be a rental car return. So your technology scans the number plates, the number plate recognition, works out exactly make, model, year, all the specs of the VIN, for example. It goes up through the system, so we know what the car is. You then scan the vehicle, is that correct? So you actually physically scan the vehicle for damage?
Yeah, you would drive through the archway, yep.
Right, so it's an archway, so the vehicle goes through an archway, number plate's been scanned, you go through the arch, the vehicle is scanned, and it picks up any abnormalities in the vehicle. So it knows what it should look like because it's all in the back end algorithms. So it identifies, oh, hang on, there's a deviation in this panel, or the paint colour is different because there's been a gouge or something like that. Picks it up. It then goes through the back end AI and works out, well, that's repairable, or as in that's a paintless repair, or it's a full-blown repair, or it's a replaced part. So all that is worked out, quotation formulated, sent back to either the customer or the owner of the vehicle if it's a rent a car coming back, and you get an immediate, this is the cost and this is where I can get it repaired.
Exactly. And rental car companies really love that because as the customer comes to return their car, by the time they hand the keys back, they go, oh, there was a dent on that left-hand door. That's going to be $300. Right now, they're going, oh, there was a dent on that door. We'll call someone out to come have a look at it this week, next week, if we're lucky. By the time they get the quote for that dent repair, that person's already on a plane back to Switzerland. Then they're never getting that $300. So it's instant quotations now.
That's amazing. And you're right. There's always the conjecture of, you're right, there's Larry the lot, we used to call them Larry the lot lizards, who would go around and say, yep, then they would be either good at what they did or they would miss stuff. So you got that consistency right across the board. That's super powerful.
A good story. I was sending a vehicle from Brisbane to Adelaide, and I was dropping it off at a logistics company. And he went around the car, and I have an eye for it, so I know exactly where the scratches are and the dents are. He was going around it, and he was going around with his piece of paper going across off where the dents were, and he didn't mark anything. And I'm thinking, I can see so many that are on this car, and if it got to the other end and I said that dent wasn't there, they would have no grounds to stand on. So again, it's that consistency and transparency that the industry does need.
Wow. And how many arches are out there for people to drive through?
Well, we're the only ones in Australia doing it. There's another company out in Israel, but they're the only ones globally that are doing what we're doing. No one is yet quoting damage and facilitating the repairs. That's we're the world leaders in that.
Fantastic. That is brilliant. So basically it's an arch, could be at any airport, it could be at a logistics provider, it could be at a dealership, or it could be even at an insurance assessing venue where, in fact, you're doing away with a lot of those independent insurance assessors because you've got this consistency and immediate information that comes straight back.
Yeah. I mean, our vision is to just have these freely available at convenient locations where people can just get a health check on their car at any point in time. And if there are any dents or scratches, those type of things can be tendered out to various repairers. But it's just about, as we start looking at EVs and the servicing time starts getting longer, you're going to get your car looked at less, and it'll just be tires and brakes and things like that. It'll be less frequent that you'll be at a dealership. So we want to start making it convenient for people just to drive through, get a health check of your car. If there is anything, you're more aware of it. from an insurance point of view, just from owning a nice car point of view.
And Jack, from a business model point of view, can you explain how the business model works? Does the rental car company buy the hardware and then pay a certain monthly fee, or how does it work?
Yeah, so our business model is just a software as a system, as a service, a SaaS model. So we install the hardware at the site. We don't charge for installation. We don't charge for the hardware because with the rate that our cameras are getting better and better, we're putting new cameras on every 6 months. So we're not going to charge someone for a camera that's going to be obsolete in 6 months' time. So our business model is purely just a cost per scan model, and there's different bundles that people can buy based on how much scanning they're doing. But yeah, it's purely just we set up the arch and then they're good to go to start driving through it and using it for various features. Some businesses such as dealerships just want to safeguard themselves, so get that condition of the vehicles that comes through. Whereas some want to really start generating some incremental revenue and offering PDR, offering tires, rim repair is a big one that they're starting to really push out to their service offering. And they can add these features or take these features away as they see fit.
So depending on what you're looking at, so if you're just looking at damage to panels, that will be one package. If you want to include tires or rims and underneath assessment, that will be a different. So you just keep adding modules onto your scanner. Is that how it works?
Yeah, so the base package is a 360-degree view condition of the vehicle. And that's essentially what we need to then start adding features on depending on what the customer wants. So a base subscription is a condition report, and then they can add on the quotation of different things, which is adding on let's use dent repair, for example, adding on the ability for a car to drive through, it be priced, it be auto SMS to the customer, and all the workflow that goes behind it with the repairer. That's one feature, similar to rim repair and tire inspections and all that kind of thing. So, yeah, they can add different features, which are mainly the quoting and the workflow element to it.
And Jack, another one for me, the question around you could drive through the arch, the vehicle condition report, tie in with vehicle valuation, so you can get this model is worth normally X, but given the condition of your vehicle of X, Y, and Z damage or whatever, or rim damage, deduct $1,800 off it. There's your realistic trade-in value immediately.
Yeah, and it's transparent.
Without a human touching the car, and there's no one trying to kick the tyres and say, trying to lowball you. It's like, here's the facts.
Exactly. Yeah. And I think there's a massive opportunity there for dealers to start getting that cross-departmental synergies between sales and service. So having your service vehicles come through, appraising them, you might have a sweet spot. You might want to target trade-ins that are less than 3 years old, less than 60,000 kilometres. If we get anything coming through the service lane that fits that criteria, let the sales team know that that's come through, and let's call Mary and say, hey, I see your car's at this age, let's trade it in. Would you like to trade it in? We can get you in a brand new Toyota for the same price. So you're getting a trade-in, you're getting a new car sale, which there's a lot of volume going through some of these service centres, so you need a way to filter through it all. So there's a massive opportunity, I think, there for dealers to start looking at that cross-departmental piece.
Wow, absolutely. I see so much opportunity. It's incredible.
And Jack, if the car's dirty, can it still pick up the scratches, or how clean does a car need to be?
Yeah, I mean, it's computer vision. So what the human eye would see is what the computer would see. We're working with DAF at the moment, looking at, I guess, more of an infrared system for when there's bio risks within a vehicle, but that's more of a heat thing. But when you're talking cosmetic on a vehicle, it's just what the eye can see, which in today's reality, if it's dirty, we're probably not going to get the right picture of that anyway. So the cleaner, the better. Obviously, that's in every situation.
But generally in the city, vehicles are pretty clean, so it shouldn't really impact that much. It's probably in rural areas where you have a lot of dirt or on vehicles.
Yeah, we were working in a rural area for our hail company, and we had it set up so it would go through a car wash as they'd come in, and then it would then go through the scanner on the way out. So people would just come in for an assessment just to get their car washed, which is great. I mean, you could, if you were a dealer, you'd offer this as a lead generation. You'd offer a free car wash and a scan, a health check, and then you've got that lead to follow up with. Because there's this really cool feature with Auto Grab, where it's more of a remarketing feature where you can see if that car's been listed online. So if a car's gone through your scanner and you get notified that that car's now for sale on car sales, you can call them up and say, hey, I noticed you're selling your car. Can we give you an offer? So there's all these things that you can start playing with that are just so accessible now that probably never were before.
And Jack, in terms of setting up the scanners, how difficult is that and how long does it take? Is it just come in and set it up and plug it in, or is it more technical than that?
Yeah, so we go out to site. If we get an inquiry, we go to the site because every dealership's different. Every driveway is different. The workflow is different. So that's the first thing we do. We go to the site just to qualify it, make sure it is suitable. And if it is, we then have a 4-week window from saying, yep, it's great, to install. And then the install takes 1 to 3 days, depending on if there's any kind of customary things that need to happen. Like, for example, we've done one where there was no data and power at the location where they wanted it. So we just had to get that there. So 1 to 3 days, and then we spend the next 2 days just being there, onboarding everyone, training everyone. So yeah, installation within days and training in the following.
And then that links to, you need to have access to the internet, and then that automatically feeds through to the computers. And do you store data in your systems, or does it just happen locally at the dealership?
Yeah, so depending on if the client wants to be integrated or not, there's obviously different costs based on how integrated they want it to be, not from our point of view, but from maybe their DMS, for example. So we can have it, so if you were to drive a vehicle through, rather than have those images sit on our portal, we can push them towards maybe your driveway app that you use for your DMS, so where they can sit there where you traditionally would have taken images, maybe using X-Time or service triage. We could pre-populate those spots where the images would have gone. Or what a lot of dealers are tending to do is just to leave it on our portal, which they can always access just through the cloud, because really you're only looking at those images if there's a claim or a problem. So there's no real need to integrate if you don't need to. The only thing that we push across for those looking for greater efficiencies is that repair order. So we drop a line item on the repair order, which will be category 1 dent repair or category 2 rim repair, just so that you're not having to have the service advisor add that on manually.
It's incredible technology, and it just fits in so many different bits. There's the repair side, there's if it's a win for the rent-a-car companies, it's a win for dealers, it's a win for customers as well. So you've got transparency on what you're being quoted. You're not there isn't load, no one's sort of adding in the date as a line item as an extra expense to try to add more money into the deal or whatever. It's because you know that it's standardized. It's standardized, and there's a whole wall of data in the background that says, well, this repair should cost this. And by the way, it can be fixed at that place there. So you've already got all that. There's so much happening behind at back end that really ties it all in. But the tech just makes sense from the front end. But the front end literally is just the tip of the iceberg. There's all this other support behind that makes this a no-brainer. It really makes a lot of sense, and especially if you're supplying the hardware and basically using it as a software as a service. So you're just pay like user pays, but you're not actually paying for the hardware. It makes sense to jump on board, because I'm just thinking the benefit to the dealer is huge. The benefit to fleet managers, they've got such transparency and consistency, and they know that, because the variable is always the human element. And then there's a word that comes into play here, which we often talk about, John, is integrity. So, integrity varies, but the integrity of the system is maintained. It's paramount. So it's built in. So consistency, integrity. So if I'm a dealer, or if I'm a fleet manager, or if I'm an insurance company, they're the three things that really stand out to me that I've got is that I've got a super quick response. It's accurate and it's I can trust it. So it really takes away any arguments as to, oh no, that wasn't there before, or that shouldn't cost that much. Well, yes, it was, and yes, it does. so this is where you've got it all covered.
Yeah, it's data. Yeah,
this is incredible technology. How's it been received when you presented it, Jack, to people? How's it been received?
Yeah, well, I mean, look, we only launched a dealership product in mid 2022. We've been using it for years, just on our own in our own system, but it's really good because it was genuinely solving a problem for us. So going out and sharing it with people, it just feels natural to go, we've got this really cool thing, or we want to start sharing it with everyone. So it's been well received, just in the way of it just, as you say, it just makes sense. So it pulls everything together that creates that trust and transparency from all the different people involved. We were just excited to start getting out there and sharing it.
Have the auction houses jumped on this as well?
Yeah, so we've started building a prototype, which is based inside a container ship. So they'll drive through a container ship, and a container ship, because it's self-sufficient. So we'll have Starlink on there. We'll have solar panels on top. So it's really transportable, and they can move it around to different sites, which was kind of born out of the problem of when it hails, you've got thousands of cars ending up at the auctions, and they need to get through that volume. So we're starting to build that technology inside a container ship with expandable sides. There's a few things that go into it, but that we're building that product for them. So that'll be really good once they're starting to use that.
Yeah, wow, that's great.
But Mark, even for an OEM who wants to sell more panels, it would be a great investment, because this would pay for itself, because your biggest margins are on panels. It's a very profitable part of the business for a manufacturer. And it's probably somewhere where you need to focus.
Panels and wheels. I think the wheels is where it's all happening now. Wheel repair is huge.
And tyres. If you can hook the guy to replace tyres at the dealership rather than go out to some tyre place, that's what you want to try and get to. I'm just talking pure manufacturer point of view.
Yeah, and I was speaking to a conversation a couple of weeks ago about tyres, just about how that will change with EVs. They'll be wearing a lot more. Just, I'm not a tyre guy, but apparently they wear a lot quicker on EVs. So they're really interested on doing that tyre tread analysis. Yeah,
because the battery is about a ton, so you've got a ton extra weight on it, and it accelerates faster than a ICE engine. And will brake harder, so you're braking harder, accelerating faster, and it's heavier. So that's your tyre wear.
Yeah, if you're servicing 100 cars a day, you're not going to be able to look at 100 times 4, right? four tyres a day. So you need to start leveraging this type of technology.
Jack, in terms of markets, where have you rolled this out so far? You spoke about there's a company in Israel, and you guys are rolling out in Australia. Have you expanded into some overseas markets yet?
Yeah, so obviously our home market, Australia. We've now established an office in the UK, so we have a partner rolling it out in the UK as well. We're looking at a partner in Japan as well that specialises in vehicle inspections, and also obviously the US. We're heading over to NADA in February, and that'll be our US launch. And the really cool part is that we do everything in house. Like we make these scanners in Australia. We control all the controllables. So we'll be starting to ship them over to the US and just start providing the industry with them.
And in terms of those markets, will they do the installation and fitment there? Would you get a provider there to do the installation and fitment?
No, we'll still do the installation. It's just a controllable that we want to control. There's a fair bit that goes into the calibration of the cameras and setting everything up. So we'll still offer the install complimentary and the hardware complimentary. Again, just being that service provider. We exhibited at AADA when we first launched, and then we took on two pilot was LSH and Alto Group. So they've taken it on as I guess the pioneers in the country to help us, I guess, make us aware of the things that we weren't aware of. We built it for our purpose, but to put into a dealership, you've got things like customers driving through and customers walking through it, and sometimes a forklift goes through it, things that you don't expect. So they've allowed us to really refine it in the last 12 months, and that's kind of where we're at now. We're with a product now that we feel really confident with, and then we can start really pushing out.
Okay, good, Jack. Well, thanks very much.
No, it's been fantastic, actually. It's been really good. Really good conversation, Jack. Really appreciate your time.
No, absolutely, and appreciate your time too.
Thank you for listening. Hopefully you got as much out of today's conversation around AI and damage reporting and quoting. It's a fascinating subject.
Thanks very much for watching. We'll speak to you again next week.